Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, my partner in crime, Vasili Gianarakos. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Yariv. We're end of the week here, going into Friday. It's been a long work week, so excited, to get together, talk some hockey too, going into the, end of the week. It's interesting. We actually have hockey to talk about,
Yeah.
some real like NHL games, albeit, not regular season, but still preseason counts, in a sense. You want to see some certain things from players and the team. So we got stuff to dive into here. Are you excited, Yuri, for the hockey finally?
Hell yeah. And it's awesome we actually get to talk about the NHL season again. We don't have to
Yeah,
freaking talk about
hypotheticals and
yeah, and the same
this
thing
and
every
that.
day and complaining.
Pretty
Um
much. You can point to a game and say, "Well, look what happened in that game." There's tangible results we can discuss. So it's good
correct,
in
correct.
a sense.
And it's really awesome because like it, we're in a really weird spot right now with the Flyers. This is the lowest I've seen the morale maybe ever.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's so much unknown that in the back of your mind, you still can't help but think like, well, but what if like this thing works out? Or like,
Something's gonna break their way out of all these unknowns. Like
so
even something might not go their way, but there'll be certain things that break their way. I think that's just the law of averages, right? Like,
yes. So I want to. Okay, I'm going to start this off, and this is a little bit of a curveball, Vasily, because I didn't talk about this prior. But I'm going to start with a little proverb here, a little story. If you guys have not heard this, I actually talked to Chris about this earlier today. This is like something I heard about years ago. It's I don't even know what to call it. Is it like a proverb? Maybe that's not the right thing. It's it's like a Chinese story.
yeah,
The way like a boy cried wolf, whatever you refer to
yeah, okay.
it's like a life lesson story.
Like like a legend type story, something like
So
that.
yeah, and I just want to start off. Let's preface this with the news, the big news about Sean Couturier, and then I'll tell this story. Sean Couturier, right? No surgery required, at least at this point,
Yeah, week to week.
and he's week to week. Not the best news, also not the worst news.
Yeah, and there's varying reports. Like, I mean, Renaud Lavoie from RVA, out in Quebec said they were thinking 3 to 4 week timeline. Other people were saying 5 to 6 weeks. They don't really want to rush him. So it's all over the place. The thing is with the back injury, and if you ever had a back injury, is it's a very fluid situation. Like you could go to sleep feeling totally shitty. You could wake up and your back is magically a lot better. So like I
Correct.
think with stuff like this, it's very all over the place. We kind of just have to wait and see.
Absolutely, and I don't blame anybody for still being pessimistic about it. But let me tell this quick story. I'll try to do it pretty quickly. So the story is there's a farmer and his son, and there are different variations of this story. So you might have heard it in a different way, but it's just, the concept's the same. So the idea is the farmer and his son, they work on a farm. They don't make a lot of money. It's just the two of them. They have a horse. That horse is heavily required for their farming, right? Like without it, they cannot farm. One day, when they're out there, their horse runs away. Son goes to the father, freaks out, goes, "Oh my god, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? The horse is gone. Let's, we're gonna lose all of our money. We're gonna lose our whole house." Dad goes, "We'll see." Next day, or not? I'm sorry. Next week, son is out there. They're trying to get by. He's outside working. His father's getting older, so his father's inside, and he sees in the distance. He sees his horse, and not only is his horse coming, but it's actually coming with other horses. So he's like ecstatic, right? So he goes, gets his horse, gets the other horse, he takes him back to the house, puts him in the barn, goes, runs to his dad. He goes, "Oh my God, Dad, not only did the horse come back, but other horses came with him. So we're rich. Like everything's amazing." And his dad goes, "We'll see." So he's like, "Okay, whatever." So the next day he goes out, goes to the horses. Now he's got to train the horses, or he got to break the horse, right? Because they're wild horses that they brought in
Yeah,
that followed
yeah.
this trained horse. He goes to do that, falls off the horse, shatters his leg, can't work. Doesn't get that. The townspeople come to him. They go, "Oh my God, your son's hurt. You're getting old. You have all these horses. What are you going to do? How are you going to run these farms?" And he goes, "We'll see." And then a few weeks later, they can't work. He's working outside by himself, trying to get by. Army shows up. 8,000 samurai show up. "I'm going to war. I'm going to take your son." He goes, "You can't take my son. His leg is shattered. Can't go with you. Can't walk." They leave. They go to war. They all die. All 8,000 soldiers die. Obviously, you can see where the story is going. And I think you used the perfect word there, Vasili, fluid. You used it about the injury situation. This is the one, like, that story is the reason this podcast exists. And I want people to understand that. And we have our own moments too. And we've heard, like, when we've been negative, we've heard comments about being negative, right? And I think a lot of people listen to this podcast for that reason. And no matter what happens, we're going to talk about how the games have gone, all that. That is definitely the attitude you should take for yourself. Because the reality is, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if this team is going to be the worst team in the league. And this is why it's interesting. We don't know if they're going to be the worst team in the league and going for Bedard, or we don't know if they're going to be even a bubble or even a good team. We have no idea.
No, there's no idea. And I would say also that, I mean, even though you have no idea, and let's say it does end up being on, the bad side of things, there's always things, even within a bad team, to look for as a fan. And I think, if you're watching this Flyers team, if you've gone through the last 2-3 seasons where they have not been very good, you want to be able to point out those positives for yourself so you can continue to watch and, at least enjoy the games as we go ahead. But I personally
get to enjoy the game that way. Yes.
Yeah, right. And I personally think that there's even with a bad team and even bad hockey, in a sense, like, there's always things to look out for. But I don't think, like, that's necessarily where it's going to be for majority of the season. And I mean, you could say otherwise. Well, look at them play in the preseason, the first 3 games. They don't look very good. We also have to remember that, I mean, no system work has been done whatsoever in training camp yet. It's only, been 6 days of camp. The regular season doesn't start until October 13th. There's still, 2 weeks. So they're going to start working in the systems, kind of, what would you say, ushering in the structure into the team play, things like that. So if you see the team now and you're saying, well, it looks a lot like last year, it's because a lot of guys it is a lot like last year. Like, there hasn't been any new implementation of systems. Kind of, obviously, I mean, Tortorella wants more structure, more focus on defense, and he's probably preaching that, but he's not actually actively going and working through system drills right now. So, like, that's something that's going to start off as we go along. And then I think too, you have to factor in, there's probably a lot of guys that haven't played together for extended period of time right now. So you see guys kind of finding their chemistry with each other, and that takes time. Especially, I would say, for defensive pairings as well. You look to, like, a Provorov and a D'Angelo, for example. People, last I said, they didn't look that great. It's also their first time ever playing in a game together, so you gotta give 2 guys a chance to feel each other out, learn where they're going to be on the ice, and also just understand, how each other kind of play and handle the puck together. Like, you're not instantly going to know, okay, if I'm over here, this guy's going to be over here. That takes time to develop with somebody. So I think there's a patience element involved. I think that's something you also want to touch on too, right, Yariv?
Yeah, absolutely. With the patience, I think you were adding perfect kind of onto the point of the story, is that there's just a lot developing in here. And while you can jump on a lot of these and be like, oh, look, they're already not good, the answer I'm going to say is we'll see. And the reality is, if you go back to even some of the stuff we've talked to people on here, or if you've heard me on any of the other stuff, like the Hockey DB thing that I did, like, they ask, how good are the Flyers? What did I say? I said, look, I get it, but we'll see. And you can be upset by that answer, but I was even listening. I'm not going to pick on the podcast itself, because I like the podcast I listen to, but they were talking about how, like, you're required. I think we've talked about this before, like, oh, you have to have superstar players. And they were going through teams and they were naming top players, like, on these teams. And, like, they're like, oh, the Flyers have nobody in their system that could even amount to this. They have no top prospects. And what drives me absolutely nuts is that the teams that they are naming are led by players that at the time when they were in their early 20s or getting drafted, you didn't know they were going to be stars. at all. Like I even
Yeah.
heard the name Kapril Kaprizov come up. Be like, oh well, we don't have anybody like that. But you didn't know Kaprizov was gonna be
Hence the
Kaprizov.
5th round pick.
You
Yeah.
didn't know any of this stuff. Like the fact that people are already saying Cutter Gauthier is not a top prospect. Like, what are we talking about? What
Yeah,
do
you
you
don't know
think a
that.
prospect is? It is a
Yeah.
mold of a player. And guess what? Only the 1% of the 1% are predictable. The rest of them, it's a crapshoot, yo.
Yeah, it's not a linear thing too with the development, right? Like you might have a prospect come in and look really good his first year, then the second year might not be the greatest, but then the third year breaks out, right? So like
But
there's
what's a
echelons
so
to
let
it
me
as
ask you
well.
this too. What's a breakout though? Like, okay, let's talk about Travis Konechny because quite frankly, he looked really good in the one game that he played.
Yeah, that Buffalo
But
game, yeah.
let's talk about him for a second, okay? This is a guy that most people are underwhelmed by at this point. I think a lot of the vocal fan base, like a large, I don't even know a lot, but a large segment of the dedicated Flyers fans that are online or on podcasts, they've kind of given up on this guy as being
Yeah.
a potential star player.
Wouldn't mind to see him traded, things like that.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I traded for, and I'm not saying that trading him is completely off the table. I'm not saying that at all. Actually, and I want to talk about Jason Robertson a little bit. Maybe we'll pivot to that because I just thought of that. But Travis Konechny is a guy like literally he's in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
This is the time for him to break out. This is a guy who's already been on a pace at one point in his career for 70 points. You can say it's a memory, it's a shadow. Maybe we'll see. If he does break out, which most players tend to break out around this age, not in their early 20s, then even a marginal increase of 10 to 20% in point production still makes him a top player in the league. And you're having a different conversation about him. So,
well, you were asking like, what do you think a breakout is earlier? And I mean, my estimation would be personally like 70 points or above.
okay,
That's a breakout season for me.
So what is that? So, what is that increase
that's like
in percentage?
That's about what you said, right? Like
Let's
he
say,
had what 50, 55 or like 52 or something like that last season. So like that's 15, 20 more points. It's very doable.
20%.
Especially with the ice time, and I mean, if he gets more power play time, which I'm assuming he's probably going to get now as well. So
does 20% sound like a crazy thing if the team is even halfway good?
Yeah, and if I mean, you got to factor into like these guys look a lot more well conditioned than last year, so I think that's going to have an effect. You could say whatever you want, like that it might not, but let's be real. Like this it is an athletic sport. I mean, guys need to be well conditioned, so that's going to be 100%. An effect on things. I would say. I mean, with Konechny and even with breakouts in general, like 70 points plus, you're almost hitting a point a game. You're almost hitting a point a game. I mean, you're
arguably
a top
line player in the league.
Yeah,
once you're near, with me, it's a top line player in the league.
It is, yeah. Once you're near a point in a game, you're a star at that point. So
doesn't mean you're a superstar, but you're a top line player in the league.
Yeah, you're a star in the league.
You can play with other star players. You can match up against the best players in the league. Doesn't mean you win all of those battles. Unfortunately, not every player's top 10 in their position or top 15 in their position.
Well, it doesn't mean you're a bad player.
Yeah. It's funny. I got to look something up while we're doing this, and I'll bring it up afterwards. But I do want to. We were talking about potentially trading him. I did see that Jason Robertson's having trouble signing a contract in Dallas. I have no idea if he's available. If he is available, that is a player that you go for. I want to make that very clear.
Of course,
he's young.
Just the age, and just how productive he's been so early in his career, man.
Well, they're looking for a defenseman. Apparently, like that's a guy I would move Cam York for. I'm not rushing to move Cam York, but again, for that guy, I'm very open to it. Right, like. These are the type of trades that Chuck Fletcher, if he's going to look for, that's the type of trade.
Good hockey trades where you're thinking to yourself, well, if I look at my defense, it's you could say a position of strength at this point with how many defensemen that they have, and then some defensemen
really
coming
good
up.
Young player.
Yeah, that too, exactly.
That can be here for the next 10 years.
Oh yeah, and then there's a wealth.
Not a Ryan Ellis who's. No offense, everybody. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I still hear people saying I would make this trade over again. Why? We're the ones who are screwed financially. The other teams are fine, aren't they?
Yeah.
We would not make this trade again. I'm sorry. You guys are wrong.
No.
We would not. Yeah. We would let Nolan Patrick retire on a small amount of money, and we would trade Phil Myers for nothing or let him walk, and then we don't have the cap problems. It's not
Yeah,
that hard to understand retrospectively.
well, I mean, if you have that contract off the books retrospectively, Johnny Gaudreau's a flyer. So
This
I
is my
mean,
point. Every single person said they would make that trade again. I was not for the trade in the beginning because you do not trade for older assets,
yeah,
young assets, or potentially assets that don't have a chance of being the same thing they are, like a Jack Eichel. That's worth the risk. But a 30-year-old defenseman is
no,
worth a risk, but he's on a 6-year contract, which is a plus to some degree.
yeah,
But you traded young assets for an old asset. You're the one who
and
got screwed.
and I mean, prior injury history you have to play in there too.
Yes.
So
And
all
I,
that stuff, I mean,
I'm
is
not
a
going to make
factor.
it seem like trading for Ryan Ellis in general is stupid. It's not.
No,
He's a great defenseman. The on paper made complete sense, except for the fact that you trade a young defenseman, a young player, in a time where you didn't have the. I don't know. I look back at that move, man, and it's one of those things where I'm like, the hockey gods were against you on that one. You did it
yeah,
anyway. Like the
yeah,
Keith Yandel trade, or not trade. I'm sorry, the Keith Yandel benching. The hockey
yeah.
gods were against you, and you did it anyway, and you got punished for it. So that's my opinion on it. It's fine if people don't want to agree, but
Yeah, the logic's there, but it's just, I mean,
I
as an
mean,
organization, there's a reason why other teams weren't jumping in
well, let
head
me
first, you
well
know?
let me give an example of a version of that trade, which is fantastic,
Yeah.
and they're very close. Matt Niskanen, a
Hmm.
32-year-old defenseman with
Yeah.
an injury thing that you could potentially turn around. Nothing wrong with that type of trade.
Yeah.
He was on a 2-year deal,
The injuries didn't
and you
translate,
traded
but
Radko Gudis for him.
yeah, exactly. Different, total different scenario on what you're giving up too, right?
Correct.
So
What you were giving up and what you were taking in return. It, even I get the right look. I'm not saying Ryan, like it would have been tempting. I just wouldn't have been at the top
yeah.
of my mind. I would have been trading for Jack Eichel. Like I'm
But
going
also
for
too, like at that point, I see your point because I mean, in that situation, you could have hypothetically used those same assets that still had value enough
I
to
traded
get
for
a guy
Tony
like Ellis.
DeAngelo over
Yeah,
Ryan Ellis.
for somebody else. Yeah.
I don't hate that. The Tony DeAngelo, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. I'm so intense. The Tony DeAngelo thing only bothers me because we traded a bunch of assets for a guy who was going to be a UFA.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sign and trade type thing.
But we traded a lot for a
Yeah.
guy who's a UFA. Now, maybe he had a bunch of offers out there. That's definitely possible. But
Yeah, that plays in, but still, it is a lot for a guy on a
it's a
pending
lot.
deal. So
It's a lot. And I
just
like
draft
it.
pick wise, yeah,
Yeah.
same. I mean, interesting stuff.
I know. I love revisionist history and sounding like a smartass. So let's go into the two games. So Flyers lost both games.
And won their opener, yeah.
They did, but they lost their last two. So we put them 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and they lost all 3 shootouts.
Yeah.
They
I don't
lost-
know actually. I don't know if the first time they did a shootout. I think the last
Did
two
they
did,
not?
though,
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They're still terrible at the shootouts, which I find interesting.
Yeah. Also, some of the selections are, I don't know. They put in Adam Brooks against Buffalo. I was kind of like, what the fuck? like put a younger guy in that might have a chance.
He also put like Tony, like JVR looked pretty good. He didn't put him out there.
Yeah.
It didn't look to me like they were really trying to win these games. Do you
yeah.
feel like the Flyers put together like a plan to win these games? Because I didn't really feel that way. I feel like they kind of came out there with a different intent, and maybe I'm wrong, but it felt that way to me.
I mean, I can't say like they're professional athletes, so they probably want to win every game.
No, not the players. I'm talking about the staff.
Oh, the staff. I don't know if there's a concrete plan like, oh, we want you to play this way or what's said. I mean, I do find it interesting though that you have Tortorella watching all 3 games from above and not being on the bench. I mean, he mentioned that beforehand, but it's interesting like seeing it be LaPerriere first game, and the second game you get kind of Bradshaw, Rocky Thompson for both those games, and some of the coaching stuff in there. So I guess they familiarize themselves with the players. But I think it's more just about seeing and evaluating, not necessarily having the result right yet. Because if you're a Tortorella, you're a Shaw, you're a Thompson, you kind of are looking at, well, there's so many things that have gone wrong on the ice for this team in so many areas. Like, let's see it from a bird's eye view, kind of like a Tortorella did, and then just assess it all and see where we can, like, okay, what implements, what points of our system is going to be able to fix that mistake that we just saw last night, or what can we do, and how can we shape that player who's making those mistakes that we're seeing all the time through our system, through our lens, through the way we coach, and what can we do. So I think they're trying to kind of assess and see where they can attack those different points. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No. I think you're spot on with the bird's eye view, and I think just listen to other voices around. I really think that a lot of people are under the expectation that the Flyers plan on hitting the ground running and winning, and I do not get the sense of that at all. In fact,
I think it's a work in progress. I mean, Tortorella's kind of said that. But.
Yeah, I don't really. I don't really feel like John Tortorella. Not that he doesn't want to win every game, but I don't feel like that in his brain right now that is the goal. Like a lot of people are expecting that at this point, and I heard some complaints about practice and how the fact they're not practicing systems and they're just skating and how. But to you guys, okay, this is my opinion. Okay, I don't know Tortorella personally. I don't know what he's doing, but if you look at what he's doing, if you have a team that is not united, okay, they're clearly not. They are to some degree. They don't hate each other. I don't believe any of that shit. But they're not united. There's no more culture in it here anymore. There's no more Wayne Simmons. All that is gone. Even our best player who runs a culture.
There's a new foundation that kind of needs to be set, I'd say.
So to do that, you must hit rock bottom, because rock bottom. And it's funny. I actually heard this quote recently. It's a really great quote. It's actually by Shia LaBeouf, and it's a really interesting quote because he's a
smart guy. I mean,
it makes a real. I mean, he's a fuck up. He talks about how he's a fuck up, and I think that at least he's reflective enough on that. But he talks about it, how hitting rock bottom is not. It's not the lowest point. It's the point where you realize something is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the Flyers are right now, and it requires that Tortorella, and it might fail. I'm not saying it's going to work. I have no idea. But, if you take the concepts of the military, and it seems like kind of a lot of that's behind this, and if I guarantee it, if I talk to Tortorella, he probably would talk about a lot of that stuff. He is trying to break them down first. So first you break them down, make them look at each other and be like, man, we aren't good. We aren't good. We can't keep up with his practices. And they need to look around at each other.
And then from within, because you kind of build that, right?
Exactly. From the ground up, and then little by little get wins with each other, with him.
I mean, I think that's the outlook he's looking for. That's kind of what they're trying to do.
It requires time.
Yeah, it requires time. And then from there, I mean, that's where kind of all the system play, all that.
Well, I think we're going to see some weird shit in the process.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
probably some weird roster decisions too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see everything. We're going to see him, like you said, give kids a chance. Were there any players, I mean, that you were thinking that stood out to you the last 3 games? I mean, it's hard in preseason because standing out could just be one shift in my mind, right? You have one good shift, you're a standout in that game for me, but it's preseason.
I mean, we all know. I guarantee we all know who's the one player who's been good in every goddamn game. There's one guy who's been good in every game. You know exactly who he is. Who is it?
I'm going to say it was Wade Allison.
Oh, okay. Did he play every game?
I don't know if he played every game. I didn't really watch the Buffalo game because I had stream issues. So
I have 3 players in my head, but the one player I'm thinking about, who's your next choice? I'm curious.
Next choice?
I'm going to say it, and you're going to be like, oh, yeah, obviously.
My next choice, I was saying Cam York, also Forster, too.
Noah Cates.
Oh, Noah Cates is. Oh, yeah. Thing is, okay. I was thinking that's like a guy you forget about.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because you think about it, you're like, oh yeah,
forgot about him. He's already on the team in my eyes.
That's my point.
There's nothing to prove. Yeah.
Which one of my computers is talking to me? Stop it.
Google's listening to a podcast. That's a great sign.
Apple. Siri, stop. Anyway, that's my work computer too. So but you look at the way Noah Cates has played, it does. He is just legit. I would not be surprised if this kid actually ends up being a lot better than most people even anticipated. And if he continues doing what he's doing, he's going. I'm not saying he's going to win Rookie of the Year, but he's going to be in the conversation with those rookies. You're going to see his name. Yeah. You're going to see his name, even if he's not a high.
Well, you know what I would say?
He's effective in all situations.
The main thing is he just does, and it's a cliche hockey thing to say, but he just does all the little things correctly. Like when you look at he's on the ice. What's the right play to make in that
He's got
situation?
that Mike
And he's always
Richards.
making, yeah, he's always making the right play. And it is
Got
Mike
that
Richards
Richards
in a sense.
brain, dude. Like you don't
Yeah,
understand why are you always on the right. Like even the cuts that he was making, like he had that one cut. I think it was like game 2. He had one cut where he cuts to the net, and he just like
yeah,
he did it like the
drives
guy
in.
is
Yeah,
a 10-year veteran, and everybody around him is an amateur. And I'm like, he's not a skill guy. This is a guy who literally has every piece of the foundation of his game down, and you can see it with his
yeah,
brother
he's
too.
poised.
Well, you can see with his brother, it's very obvious that their father's a coach. Like it's very obvious.
Yeah,
They are fantastic. Um, I guess students of the game.
position wise. Yeah,
I mean, it's
position
obvious,
wise, all
right?
that stuff.
Um,
Oh, I
I'll
would
talk about the
agree.
other
I mean,
guys too, but
even with his brother, it's interesting because they're playing together. I'm kind of interested to
why
see
did
if,
they do that?
well, it's familiarity, but also, and you see them kind of get, more into their games
They're
just
on the
because they're
same
so
page, dude.
they're used to
They're
playing
on the
with each other.
same
The chemistry's
page.
there, all that stuff. I would say
His
with
brother
Jackson
is also
Cates,
very
it's
smart.
interesting. Yeah, they had some good give and go plays up the neutral zone of the ice that I thought was good in game one. I mean, they've showed that they can play well together. I'm interested to see like if the team thinks as highly of Jackson, because I don't know what his status is in terms of making the team.
Oh,
Like I could see
can
him
I
as
say this?
on a fourth line maybe, but
Well, can I say this? Would you already say that their view of him is higher than you anticipated?
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Like personally, I thought Lisinski probably had more of a chance to crack a spot. But I would say with things the way how things are playing out, I mean, he could have some good games coming up. Lisinski and kind of
Well,
flip the narrative, but
I I
Cates looks like he's more poised to kind of grab a
well
spot.
I think in the Cates thing, I think they know that Jackson Cates already thinks like an NHL pro. He is
Yeah,
not as talented as his brother, but he
no,
has the exact same thing his brother has. Is both of them understand the game at such a high
good
level.
hockey sense,
It's
nice work
so
ethic.
obvious.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
both of them could
100%.
probably end up being NHL coaches. This is the same reason why Sean Couturier is as good as he is. Like that guy knows every bit of this game. Um,
Yeah,
and those are the guys who become coaches who get
yeah.
better as they get older. Like, I think
Well,
we're kind of lucky to have
it's
them,
just a
dude.
perception. Yeah, it's good. It's
I've been
definitely a
like
good thing.
thinking about that a lot. Like, these are the type of brothers we want here. You want Jackson Cates here, even if
Yeah.
he's the Phantom's top center. Like, you want that type of player here.
Yeah, even first call up option too. So yeah, we can kind of dive into some of the other players.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was
Allison,
mentioning,
if
yeah,
you want to talk about
Allison,
him,
and
he looks great.
he, yeah, he looked really great in the last game, especially. He was just kind of all over the ice, and you could tell there was just a different level that he was kind of going to when he was out there. I mean, he was out skating a lot of the other players on the Washington team, even his own teammates. He was just high motor energy. Using his body on the forecheck. Like I could probably count on my hand 4 or 5 shifts. I would say like in the last game where literally he made a hit, caused a turnover, and then it with the puck either passes it off and they're keeping possession or they're trying to make some sort of play out of it. That's even playing with Lawton and Olu Lixell, and then as well when
Mm-hmm.
he got bumped up to play with Hayes and Tippett too. So that's promising stuff to see from Allison, and it just shows. I mean, what an exciting player and how fun he can be to watch. Like when he actually gets the opportunities that he's been getting with those kind of more skilled guys, especially to the end of the game with like Hayes and a Tippett. You see where he fits in on a line, like his dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
He creates those turnovers, frees those pucks up for players, just anticipates the play really well, even to get to this point where he can make those turnovers as well. Like, it takes a certain mindset to be go, go, go. Okay, I'm going to chase the puck in on the fork check and then loop back around already and catch the guy who's exiting that I basically just chased. Like
Yeah.
it takes a lot of effort to do stuff like that. So he's high motor, high energy. That's what you want to see from this team because that was, I mean, they're the opposite of that basically most of last season. So
Well,
that's a good dynamic to have.
it's interesting, but we were talking about Kate making the team. I see in no way that Wade Allison is not on the team.
Yeah, I would say
Uh,
he makes it as well. Yeah.
Again, the only reason he would not make it is because they have the luxury of waiving him, and
Yeah.
you might see weird shit. I've brought this up already. You might
Yeah, to
see
keep a
weird stuff like
Ratcliffe
that.
in the system, you never know. Yeah.
You because the difference is marginal, and it does not seem like winning is the top priority at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I'm seeing. If it was, you would see a different thing. You would see a different thing at this point. You would see the other player. You would see more cuts earlier. This is
Yeah.
for evaluation. They're using it more
And
intensely than it.
then there's a little too, sorry to cut you off here,
No, go ahead. I cut
with
you off like 10
Allison.
times.
But literally, man, you see Allison almost get hurt, and you hold your breath.
Oh
Last game, he
yeah.
has to go down the tunnel, and then
Well,
comes back, and you're like, you just hope the injury stuff is behind him, man. Even seeing that, you're like a little like, phew, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Watching, you just feel
Well,
bad for the guy. You hope he can just stay healthy
but
because he has something there, right?
oh, totally agree. Definitely something there. I mean, it looks like another Scott Hartnell type of player. God damn, could we use another guy like that? Um,
Yeah,
but um, I noticed a lot of people like really upset that he went for that fight, and they're like, oh, you hold your breath when he fights, and like, I get it, but
that's how he plays, man.
it's not even that. I actually completely disagree with people's perception on it, where they're like, oh, the Flyers management was probably holding their breath. No, I don't think so. I think they're actually very happy to see that he is not playing like, oops, I can get injured, because that's how you get injured. He's
Yeah,
playing his game without
but
hesitation.
also
Keep fucking
when
good. That's the only way you
yeah
can do it. He's not going to play
when
in the
you
NHL if
play
he doesn't.
scared, yeah, when you play scared, he's not going to be able to utilize the skills and
That's what I'm
the assets
saying.
that he
He
has to actually
has to
make an
play his
impact.
game.
Yeah,
So I think that's actually
he's got to be intense like
yeah.
that.
And there's no way to predict whether he's going to get injured or not. So you
Yeah,
you
just see where
can't.
it goes,
If you do want a
basically.
timid hockey player, because that's worse, I would say, for him
Yeah,
not to play. Um, I agree with you though. He looks great. I think Cam York looked pretty good. I was a little disappointed with how the defense played in general last game. I mean, you have your top four D in, and you are not outplaying a team that has mostly role
yeah,
players in. Um,
yeah. That's a concern. That's a concern for sure. But
it's a concern, because just like the execution was not there, and this is
uh,
another example I talk about how talent is not the problem. And I said it
yeah,
over and over again. Talented teams, they'll win just by default because they're more talented. This is a team that
yeah.
literally has enough talent, but they're not playing together. Like you
They're not
said,
executing. Yeah, or the effort's not there.
and I would not expect it to be, and it's way too early for that to be, but that is what you would like to see. And it is disappointing to see that they didn't play that well as a team, because you kind of
Yeah,
miss out. You know what I mean? We don't get to see that
yeah.
much. We've seen glimpses here and there, but like we haven't seen a good power play. The other guy who I actually think stuck out is clearly on the brink of a breakout. I think without a doubt this guy is going to be one of the, maybe lead the team in goal scoring if Farabee's injured at some point. But I mean, Owen Tippett, I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah, we didn't mention him. Tippett looked great.
he just
He
look, he's
has he had
everywhere
some
too.
chances. He had some chances. I really find interesting about him. It's just the way he cuts in
His
and kind
cut.
of skates
Talking about that when he
into
was
area.
interviewing us.
Yeah, yeah, but like he kind of works his way around players and then beats them to the puck. Like a player will have the puck going back as a defenseman. He'll forecheck in. He won't go as a straight line, but he'll cut in,
Do the
and then
cuts,
he'll
yeah.
get around him, and then establish possession. And then
And he's
you get
got
your
that
forecheck game
size.
going
You're right. And
to
then when he's
do
got
that.
that
Yeah,
size, he has enough strength that the player can't just force him out of that
yeah,
position, right?
exactly.
And it's just
Yeah,
enough
where
to get that shot off.
you've seen that in the past where some players they don't have that puck protection like he kind of does.
Yeah.
That's obviously one of his great skills. But then even yesterday too, I think the broadcast was mentioning that he wanted to try to work on like more deception tactics to try to beat goalies, and
Yeah.
he pulls that out on the 2-on-1 after Allison kind of breaks it up and gets the turnover. He just fakes the shot. The goalie has to respect his shot because he has a wicked shot, and then opens Hayes up. And I think that's an asset of kind of Tippett's game that's a little underrated, just
Mm.
because I mean everybody always talks about the shot so much, but when you have a shot like that, you have the ability to kind of fake a goalie out in a sense because he's going to be thinking in the back of
Yeah.
his head, this guy's going to fire it every time, which probably he usually will, but then you get a guy off guard a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
then you kind of create a scoring chance. So
Yeah.
I think we'll see more of that from him. Even his first game with Frost, I thought he looked good.
Yeah.
And then I think last guy we can touch on, and then kind of maybe go into the defense a little bit more and kind of how just more of a patience element, like we were kind of talking about off the top, is Tyson Forrester. I
Yeah,
mean, he hasn't been as dynamic, I would say, as
he's
an
not ready.
Allison.
He's not ready
Or
yet.
yeah, exactly. Not as noticeable as an Allison Tippett, those types of guys. But you can see like the smarts are there.
The
The
shot,
the shot is there.
God,
Even
yeah,
even
and the
last
confidence to shoot though too. Like,
yeah, last game, I mean, they did a little give and go play, him and Hayes, and they
I
were,
just missed it.
yeah, they were super close. You see it there, right? Like the creativity, though, to go back. Like if you're a young guy, you're not confident, you're gonna get that puck right away and shoot it because you're thinking, oh shit, like I'm in the offensive zone in a good spot.
Mhm.
He's confident enough to be like, I know I can send it back to you, make another play, and then we can have an even better chance on the way
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
So
you're
like
right.
that shows, man. He's confident in his skills, and I think he'll probably be. I don't know if he's gonna make it, but like first call up if somebody's hurt, 100%, I could see it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then from there, you cement yourself. You know.
No, absolutely. I think with him in particular, I think they really want him to be the guy on the Phantoms first because
Yeah, I agree.
you're creating a goal scorer. And it's
Hmm.
such a confidence heavy position that, like, man, you really want that kid to go in and score like 30 goals at the AHL level. You know, to be like, oh,
Yeah, light it up.
I got this already. Like, I'm a goal scorer, right? Because every
Oh yeah.
level it's going to be harder. And I feel like with him in particular, like, he's really important to this team because we don't have a lot of uh, like pure scores in our system. So it's like we can't afford to really miss on him. So it's a guy that I think the Flyers will be more patient with, just because we're so heavy at the wings too. It's like it's not really a position where you can take a risk. Like
Yeah.
we don't need
If
to
he was
because
a center, he might have a better chance.
yeah, I
Let's be
mean.
real. Yeah.
And actually, we should talk about Frost a little bit because, quite frankly, I mean, he's looked a lot better than other
Oh
players.
yeah.
He's been one of the best players as
No,
well.
he has looked good too, and I commented on it like on the
Yeah,
PK for the first game. I was pretty impressed with what I saw, just like the little
but they did it
stickeries.
on purpose, right? They're doing it on
Yeah, because
purpose.
they want to see that. They want to see that he can play in all situations. If you're going to be a successful center in the league, I mean, usually you play in all situations that can affect the game in all areas.
And
So I think they want to rely on him for
if
that,
I
especially with
rem- if I
the
remember
injury
correctly, he did
trouble.
it in juniors too, though.
Yeah, he played the PK in junior. He's really
For
good. He played a
plus
little bit of
70,
PK.
I think.
Yeah, he was great. He's played the PK for the Phantoms. They had a lot of scoring
Yeah.
opportunities on the PK with
Well,
him. He did it
theoretically,
for did it in the World Juniors too. So
well, I can look if I'm gonna have a top PK unit on this team. I think my top choices are Couturier and like Noah Cates, probably,
yeah, I
or
would
maybe
say.
maybe a Farabee, maybe an Atkinson, right?
Something like that. I probably do like a combo of that. Yeah.
But you know, but then you look at Frost and what he brings. If he is
He has
able to
these
play
those
the,
anticipation
he's
skills. Like,
so fast that
yeah.
you could throw him on the wing on the PK.
Hmm.
He not only can he take the center, like kind of like how we used Giroux, right? We had
Yeah.
Giroux with Couturier. I mean, I would
You
look at stuff
could.
like that, but I think Noah Cates is
And
a great candidate for a short-handed goal scorer.
oh yeah, I could just see
Uh,
how it works everybody. And I mean, like you
I
said, the positioning anticipation's there. So those little breakups. I mean, I could see him and Atkinson definitely having a good amount of goals on the PK for sure.
yeah, or something.
But
At least that
Atkinson,
breaks the other way.
yeah, he was really good at creating those last season. Cam
Atkinson,
was,
yeah,
yeah, he was good at
I
that.
think he's always good, been good at it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
he's
like
really good
always
with.
been his
He
bread
was
and
really
butter.
good under Tortorella with it as
Yeah,
well, right? I think he kind of helped him develop that, to be honest, within
yeah.
his game. But yeah, Frost has been good. He had a sweet pass, man, to Noah Cates for that goal in the first game. He's a little behind the back like that, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oof. Like that's a little glimpse. Like that's the thing, right? Like the guy missed a whole year due to injury. Everybody's already like, he's a bust. He's shit. Like, I mean, is he though? Like, has he really had a full 82 game season in the NHL to prove it with real power play time,
Like, dude,
playing with skilled wingers? He hasn't had that opportunity
I
yet, man. So how
well,
can you label him that? So
dude, it's funny you say that because I was thinking about the fact we were saying it too. I was like, oh, this is shit or get off the pot time for
it is, and
Frost.
he's addressed it. He said it's his biggest year of his career. So
Yeah, yeah, and like I agree with that, but is it shit or get off the pot time? What does that really mean? Like, what happens if he puts up 30 points this year?
I don't know. I mean, it's a tough situation. Like the Flyers have him on a 1 year deal. If he puts up 30 points, like what's the harm in signing a guy like that back, right? So
That's my whole point. My whole point is
yeah,
like, are you so sure that if it doesn't have that he's out of town, that he's
I think it's
gone.
more like if it's. I think it's more like if it's like fucking abysmal, like he just looks like out of place. Then maybe that's the
Sure,
sense. But I just don't
but
think that's going to be the case.
to
To be
be
honest.
honest with you, has he ever looked out of place? There are some games where if you look 50% of the time that he spent in the NHL, he's had bad games where he's not noticeable,
Yeah,
right?
and the other, but that's normal with young guys.
The other times where he has been noticeable, you're like, holy shit, this guy looks like he is a solid.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I attribute it to just a lot of it's line management. Like you're putting a young guy on the fourth line. Like they had him some games like playing with guys
Yeah.
that like he was playing Max Woolman and Jerry Mayhew, and like nothing
Yeah.
against those fucking
Yes.
guys, but like you know
They
what?
can't support him at the NHL level.
That's not the right situation to be putting a young guy like that in if you want him to have success. Like when they were first getting him into the league, they had him with Giroux and
Well,
guys that are going to be
to
like
to that point, if you
kind of
look at, I
help him
think
out a little
Giroux's
more.
initial line, man, I think he had like what, Aaron Asham on his line,
Aaron Asham, JVR, yeah,
young guy, and
but
well, top pick.
that's a different team though. You
It
got to
was a good.
factor
Well,
into.
that my point was is that was a good team. That was a team
Yeah,
that played
exactly.
well.
So it's easier to foster in a guy like that in a good team.
That's my point. And Giroux's obviously a special player. It's a different scenario. Also, Giroux's very, 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 very good.
True.
Actually, I want to talk about this for a second. I want to sidetrack on this because I thought about something today while I was running, and I was thinking about like how people talk about Sean Couturier. Like they're like, we do not have an elite player here. Like I hear
Yeah,
people say that, and I want it to be like, okay, he is a Selke Trophy winner. I
yeah,
know the names of the Selke Trophy winner, and I realized like people don't remember because people have the memories of goldfish. I'll be honest with you, and I was like, okay, what we should do on the podcast is just a point of reflection, and I want to point out to people these are the names of people who have won Selke trophies. You tell me the caliber of these players. Are they elite players in the league? Are 100% of them elite players? Or at the very least are 95%, not just elite players, but maybe some of the best players of all time, and recognize that Sean Couturier has one of those trophies. So I want to point that out to people because while they continue to talk about lack of talent, blah, 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 this is an extremely, extremely special player in a Flyers uniform. It's one of these things where I had to defend Claude Giroux being elite, which blows my mind. Like, you can't do better statistically than he did. And essentially just, I have to argue with people that he's an elite player. So
yeah.
let's just go through this list. I'm going to start at, I don't want to start too far back because there's a lot of names here, but I'm going to start at 93.
2005. Oh, you're going even
No,
farther
let's
back.
start even further back because I want people to see all of the names because there's a couple in here that are not superstars. Okay, so and
Okay,
I
yeah,
think it's
fair,
important
fair.
to see that. 1993. Okay, and I'm saying this guy because I know these are names that people listen to will probably know. I think before that, a lot of people won't know the names. That's why I don't want to name them. 1993, Doug Gilmour, elite
Super,
player.
yeah, elite player.
1994, Sergei Fedorov. 95,
Elite.
Ron Francis.
Elite.
96, Sergei Fedorov.
Elite.
97, Michael Pekka,
Elite.
and he did win a Stanley Cup. Yuri Letnin, Dallas Stars in 98. You can make the case maybe he wasn't still top line left
At the
winger.
time, though, he was really, really good.
Yes.
So.
And not only that, won the next year again in 1999. In 2000, it was Steve Yzerman. 2021, John Madden, not an elite player, a very good defensive center, not an elite player, but on a Stanley Cup winning team, I think 2001, or at least they went to the Stanley Cup. But again, damn good player. Then after that, Yuri Letnin again. And then Chris Draper, not an elite player. And you're like, okay, not an elite player, but
and then you really got into a run here.
Yes.
After that.
Rod Brindamore, Pavel Datsuk, Ryan Kessler, Patrice Bergeron, Jonathan Toews, Patrice Bergeron, Anze Kopitar, Patrice Bergeron, Anze Kopitar, Ryan O'Reilly, Sean Couturier, Alexander Barkov, Patrice Bergeron. Please explain to me the percentage of players on that list that are not either very good players to superstars.
You know what's fucking crazy? Other than like from 2006 all the way to 2022, other than Kessler, Couturier, and Barkov, all those guys are cup winners. That's kind of nuts, man. Like,
So
If you think about it.
that's an amazing thing to point out. And actually, majority of these guys are cup winners.
Yeah. It
If
shows how
you
integral a guy like that is to winning a cup,
multi-cup
realistically.
winners, this is what I want people to realize. And every single time I hear a hockey person say that Sean Couturier is not elite, I laugh.
I'm like, have you,
And
seen
I
the
go,
list here?
perspective is needed.
Oh, I agree. I mean, it's a shame, right? Because the thing is, since Couturier's been on the Flyers, there hasn't really been a time where they've been like a contender for the cup, other than that 1 year where they're going into the bubble, right? So like, that's the only thing with the national media is not, especially
And that's
national hockey
fine.
media. They're gonna focus on the teams that are gonna be in that picture all the time, mostly.
I agree with you, but I would say national media thinks higher of Sean Couturier than the fan base.
Oh, I agree that I would agree with that.
They're
as
not
well.
crazy. He's a Selkie Trophy winner. You have to be out of your mind to say Selkie
No,
Trophy winner is
he's
not an elite
very
player.
he's very underrated amongst the fan base right now. And
100%.
I just think a part of it too is people haven't seen the guy play in a while
Yeah.
now. So
like I said, memory of a goldfish.
yeah, so like it's been since last December, so they just don't remember what he looks like on the ice.
He might as well not exist anymore at this point.
Well, and the thing is, like, I even saw Jamie kind of tweet this, and I kind of agree with the sentiment. Is like, if you're a fan right now with the injury troubles with Ellis, you know, you heard them say week to week last year with him, and he hasn't ever fucking come back. So like, fans have PTSD. They're just kind of like
100%.
they hear
totally
the week to
I
week.
empathize with that.
Yeah, so
Totally.
I empathize with that part of it. Like until you see him on the ice, it's going to be hard to trust that he's 100% healthy, which is true. He's got to come back, he's got to prove it. But I mean, once he does come back, you're going to see once again like how special of a player and how much the guy actually impacts games on a regular basis. Like in all three zones, he has an effect that's monumental. And I've said it a million times. Just look at last season. The team was 500 as he was in the lineup, injured. Yeah.
Correct.
So without him, they fucking dropped like a lead balloon. So
and that's why everybody panicked when they saw that injury, and
because they know how integral he is. Obviously.
Because it's real. He is elite. It's not a question. And I've said this, and I don't care if people don't agree with me. If I have an option to clone Sean Couturier or to bring in Johnny Gaudreau, I'm cloning Sean Couturier 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, it just affects the games in more areas. So
yes, again, I would love Johnny Gaudreau. He's an elite
100%.
I'm not an asshole. My point is recognize what you have
to build a winning team. Yeah,
that's
imagine having two Patrice Bergerons on the team. It's like the same.
That's all I'm
same
saying.
Effect, you know.
That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, just
give the guy his due a little.
The reality is, and look, injuries are scary. I get that. I'm not going to be critical of anybody who is worried that his career is over. I get it.
There's a chance he might not be. There's a chance he might not be as good as he was. It's a possibility. Yeah, it's absolutely come back, right?
But that's not what I want to make that very clear. That's not where the thing I'm frustrated about. The thing I'm frustrated about, it started before the injury again and all that. It came last year. There's no good player. Again, what happens every single time, it's just a new target. I brought it up on this pipe. We do the same thing over and over again as a fan base. We just pick a new target. Like we always have a new Andrew McDonald. We always have a new Claude Giroux. Like before Claude Giroux wasn't good enough, right? Now Couturier is not good enough.
Mike Richards wasn't good enough.
It's always the case. And there are people who love these players. There's always a huge segment of the fan base. I would say majority that loves the players because they're just there to enjoy and they see that he's the best player, but there's always that large group is just like, well, he's not the 1%. He's not the best in that position, so it doesn't matter. And it's like
most teams don't have Connor McDavid, so you got to work with what you got.
And quite frankly, that won't win you a cup either. So,
look at Edmonton. I mean, they have not won yet. So, and they have two of the best players.
Well, you can make the case that Colorado, Colorado, but they won a cup. Yeah, but they had Nathan McKinnon for all these years. He was playing at an elite level, and he can do it.
Well, what it is realistically, you just need to have enough of these good. You need a whole roster of these great players, right?
I've said it from day one. The only way to win a Stanley Cup is to have an entire roster of good players. That's it. That's the secret.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
That starts where the Flyers are now, right? You have a young prospect base. You got to see what those guys can do.
We don't have enough to compete.
No. Not
that you were saying that. I'm saying even potential in the system.
Yeah, but it starts from there though. You got to see what you have with these guys, see what they can be for you. Then you go outside, then you draft to try to fill in the other holes. Like
Well,
it's all a process
like okay,
from where they're at.
let's be super optimistic first for a second, okay? Let's say
Okay,
Couturier comes
all right.
back.
Yeah.
Frost hits 60 points, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm being optimistic with everything. Tippett breaks out. Farabee comes back, and he's the player we know he is. You know what I mean? Noah Cates is
Yeah.
killing it. Scott Lawton is having the best defensive season of his career. He's playing fourth line center, but dominant. You know what I mean? Our team's so good. We're balanced at all position. Every single person upgrades, and Provorov's back to his game, and D'Angelo's playing like he did last year, and York's taking another step, and Sanheim and Risto building chemistry. Like all of that happens. Yeah, this is a playoff team. But look how many fucking question marks are there.
Yeah, so like it's unrealistic to say it's all going to happen.
That's
And
the
also,
problem. That's why there's too
right. So
many
there's going to
areas.
be that's what I mean, right? There's going to be certain situations that you're going to look at and you're going to say, well, this doesn't work, and we know it doesn't work. And going into next season, how will we address? And I mean, that's
exactly
the plan. That's kind of what we've talked about.
Narrow your what is wrong.
Yeah,
right?
but also that's the plan that we kind of were talking about. I mean, going over the summer, right? That like this isn't the year, but it's a building year into what could be potentially based on like if guys take steps forward. I think that's a thing to look at. I mean, for the fans. And then another thing, I mean, just on the defensemen, like the top four didn't have the best game against the Capitals. I kind of want to just get into that just a little bit, just because I mean, we kind of touched on it with like Provorov, D'Angelo, just the fact that like they didn't have a good game. It's interesting because even after the game, during the press availability, like D'Angelo said himself, he was very critical of himself, said that he didn't play his best game, not anywhere close, and he was very disappointed with the way that he played. So, I mean, I think that self-awareness, you're even kind of starting to see that brew under a John Tortorella, where maybe you didn't have guys say that. I think D'Angelo's just a real competitive guy, so he's going to say that nonetheless. But that's a good thing to see, and it shows. He said, he said I didn't do enough to help my partner, to help Provorov. He mentioned that specifically. So I think those guys, as you see them play a little more together, they're going to kind of get that chemistry, figure out where they are on the ice. Because you saw there were certain times where they were routine switch arounds where, I mean, a guy should know, okay, my partner's going to go get that. I can wait here. He'll pass off to me. You saw a guy standing, wasn't sure who was going for what, who was doing this, who was doing that, and that just is going to take time. For Sanheim, Ristolainen, I mean, they should have more familiarity. There were some plays there, like Ristolainen's turnover in the neutral zone there, you don't want to see. Have a 2-on-0 for, Dylan Strome and Connor Brown. But, I mean, it's like I said, first preseason game, I can't really judge it too much. These are guys that have played in the NHL for years. Trust me, they're not ramping it up 100%, even under a new coach.
I would imagine none of those guys were, which is part of the problem.
Yeah, right. So like you have guys on the Caps roster that it's a pretty not lackluster roster, but bare bones roster. They didn't have a lot of NHL guys, so all those guys are fucking giving it, man.
I think it's very
a different dynamic.
Well,
so.
I think it's very important that regardless of what Tortorella says to people publicly, you guys. And I don't think people really recognize the difference of talent between like a Travis Sanheim and even like a Igor Zamula. And not just like talent, the poise, the professionalism that is built over the years. All you have to do is listen to the way the coaches talk about guys who are in the NHL versus the guys who are trying to make the NHL. Like the way we look at TK publicly. If you guys think that the Flyers staff looks at TK as anything but an awesome young athlete that brings his A game, you're kidding yourselves. I want to make that very, very clear. That the likelihood that a young man who showed up at 19 years old, worked his ass off into the NHL, became a 70-point pace, what was an all-star player while the team collapsed around him. And meanwhile, these guys have been around the game the whole time, so know the ups and downs are real. You guys actually think that that's how they view TK? I guarantee you that they go to the young players and go, look at Travis Konechny. Don't you want to be Travis Konechny? Look what he did.
Yeah. But also, like, it's not
realizes that, dude.
Yeah, and it's not to acknowledge, too, that, like, there's probably areas, too, where they go to a Konechny or go to a player and say, you know what, even though you're doing this well, we can get more from you.
Of course. That's without a doubt they're doing. Without a doubt they're doing.
That's a factor as well, but you also can't push aside the fact that the players have past successes.
I'm saying
what's happened.
But the Flyers are proud of Travis Konechny.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. And like the fan base, I'm saying they can't push aside.
The fan base doesn't seem very proud of him.
No, Well, I'm saying that's what I mean. They kind of push aside the past
He's, but like,
success.
I think it is important. I'm going to say I don't care if if this bothers people. I think it's very important for people to understand what is actually happening when you're developing players. Like we're doing this every time. I was just talking to my roommate about this, and he's a sports fanatic. He watches he watched the Flyers with me. He watches every sports team. He's the guy yelling at the TV, even if he's not even involved in the game. Like, and again, I want the intensity is there, so you cannot deny it, dude. We were talking about chasing players out of town, and he's just, man, we cannot do that as a city. And this is a guy who yells at his TV. Like watching the Flyers with me, he's yelling at the TV, and that's his fourth interested sport. I'm sitting there looking at him like this. And we cannot do this over and over and over again. It is not effective to sit there and ridicule players when they don't get it. Doesn't matter. I'm going to say it to people, stop. You are hurting yourselves emotionally, and you are hurting the players too, and you're hurting our ability to bring players in. Because if you don't think, and you can back me up, you live in Toronto, that players don't have a list of certain cities that they don't want to play in because of the fan base and the media, you are kidding yourselves.
Oh, yeah. No player wants to fucking play in Toronto. So.
Okay. Why? And
because
you think
the media is that shit crazy,
right? But you don't think that there are people in Toronto who
but
are
also the fans too are batshit crazy here. Like hypothetically, it's the same. It's like imagine this with certain players on the Leafs, but like times 5. You know?
Again, Mitch Marner is an elite player. They have been talking about trading him
90-point player
year.
Yeah, like, oh, we need to get rid of this 90-point player. He's our problem. I'm like, you sure? Maybe it's just the fact that your third and fourth lines have guys that like score 15 points a year. Like, you got to get more good players.
They're just doing the same thing we're doing, right?
Yeah, hypothetically.
He's only a 90 point, but we have 4 or 5 guys in the league who had more points. I remember that's what people used to say to me when I would say Claude Giroux is one of the best players in the NHL. They go, oh, but I have 70 players that I'd rather have over him. I go, okay, it's a really small.
Like, you realize there's like 800. You were like, there's like 800 NHL players.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I was like, that's a really small group that you just mentioned to me.
Yeah, of course I would want him.
I saw people
players I would want.
Dude, I saw people saying that the Blues didn't have elite talent when they won the Stanley Cup. I couldn't believe I was hearing it. I was like, so they had a 45 goal scorer in Tarasenko, a number 1 defenseman in Pietrangelo, a Selke winner in Ryan O'Reilly. Like, what are we talking about?
We're not.
What are we talking about?
Attention.
What is an elite player in the league? I have no idea what it is anymore because you could just take it away from them in a heartbeat. Forget your 80-point season, your Selke, you're not elite. You're not Connor McDavid, so it doesn't matter. You don't have 50 goals a year like Ovechkin. What are people talking about, dude? My brain hurts when I hear people say this shit.
Like I said, the logic's not connecting for sure.
And again, I promise you, the people who are saying this are well-respected, smart people.
Yeah.
They're not stupid. We are going down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out this math problem. We'll see. Go back to the beginning.
Let it play out.
We'll see.
And I think it's a part of the process too. Like even with the people are saying, oh, the Flyers, it's all at least with Tortorella, like it's all a learning curve at this point, I think. And I think there are a lot of things that he needs to teach to this group. Like we need to handle ourselves in certain ways to be successful. And I think even last night's game, I mean, they didn't play the best game, had a lackluster second period. You think Tortorella tomorrow at camp after a day off, is it going to be like, what the fuck were we doing? Like, this is not who we want to be. Like that, it's going to be the first lesson. And it's going to be the first typical and hard conversation that Tortorella's been saying that he's willing to have. He's willing to have these types of conversations where players might be uncomfortable. Well, why aren't we giving the max effort even in a preseason game? And I think that's what we need, right? Because as we're saying, the talent's there, the execution is not. What's the reason? Hopefully, he figures it out, gets the most that he can out of these guys. And I think as we kind of go along, it's going to be a process into that. But it's just going to be, adjusting to his systems, adjusting to what he's trying to establish here. And I think the players it's too early to kind of be like, well, this is what it is. Because it's not, man. It's not what it is, really.
Look,
so
we talked about this in the beginning of the year, and I've heard another podcast. Somebody said it, and I want to give them credit for it because it was a smart thing to say. And I don't remember because I listen to so many Flyers podcasts. So sorry
if I remember, I'll.
Okay, well, it was a smart thing to say, and we said a similar thing on this podcast. And it's like the real way that you want to see this team get better, like the way that they're actually getting better, is that they'll probably come out pretty mediocre, probably more of the same. And periodically throughout the year, you'll see that, oh, they get a little bit better for a stretch here and then they go regress, stretch
Yeah.
for here and regress. And then eventually by the time they hit that midway point, again, it doesn't, in my opinion, I do not think the Flyers are focused on the playoffs. It's going to be upset at me in that. I don't care. They're obviously trying to fix their culture.
Oh,
That is
yeah.
problem number one.
Well, I think Martinez mentioned this on like a Flyers Daily or
It
something.
could have been
Yeah.
Martinez because I listen to him all the time. And this was a smart analysis. And he's like, what you really want to see is that this team gets better throughout the year
Yeah. Then
and
you see
then
progress, right?
finish strong. You don't want to see them have a
Yeah.
beginning of the year where they're good. Like it only matters how they finish this year.
Yeah,
It
because
really matters.
it's all about moving forward, right? And then you see them finish
Exactly.
strong. Then you point out
The
as
evolution.
management. Yeah, you point out as management. Well, we see these guys evolving. What can we do to put more pieces around them to get them to evolve and get
Yes.
even better, right?
Look,
And then we'll see what happens. I mean, I still don't think it's 100% Chuck Fletcher's around. So well, who knows? I think it's all up in the air.
that I have no idea. I think we got to give that one time. We'll see.
Oh yeah,
Um, but to that point, there was the recent news, and I would take those numbers with a grain of salt for sure. But the salary cap estimations came out for the next
oh that's
2 years,
interesting. Yeah,
right? So it went up 1 million, I think, for next year, and then after this season, I think this year it already went up 1 million, and then next year is
yeah.
supposed to go up another million. And then the following year it could go anywhere up. I think you're going to pull up the exact numbers, Vasili.
I'm gonna try to. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. If
I
we
can
can get
find
them.
them.
Yeah, I forgot to look them up prior, but I think it's around 87, 88 million, and then from potentially to 92 million the following year. Those are a grain of salt. Recognize that the world
Yeah,
economy matters at
yeah.
that time. But it has to
But
do off of them paying back
new
debt.
TV deals make
Yes.
sense.
I would
But
imagine
yeah,
it's something going to be between 5 and 8 million, though.
yeah. So just to get the firm numbers, we got 2022 82.5, so went up one. Next year we'll go to 83.5, another million. 2024, it'll either be 87.5 million or 88 million, and then 2025, 26. So 3 years from now, 92 million. So I mean that's
Well,
interesting.
okay, well, you look at that timeline. You look at where the Flyers are. Let's say they're not that good this year. Let's say they are one of the worst teams in the year in the league. And let's say they
Yeah,
are going for Bedard. Bedard another year, and again, let's not even say Bedard. Let's say top prospect another year, shed salary. That's your window. Like
yeah,
if
pretty much 20,
if I'm
2024, 2025.
you
That's
recognize you're gonna have a bunch of
realistic.
cap space. There's gonna be a bunch of players moving around. It's enough time for you to get rid of some of these contracts if you need to. If you're really doing that,
Yeah.
but I think time will tell. Again, it depends how the Flyers finish. Like I don't think that plan is set in stone at all. And
Yeah, I think it's
that bothers
concrete,
people.
but yeah, I
I
think
think that's
too
what
though
bothers
that
people too.
the fact that I mean it's going up potentially to 92 million.
If
You can't. I mean that's not concrete or anything, but if it does get to that point, that's another 10 million added. That's another superstar player you can
yes,
add in
and
potentially.
you're still weighing the option of rebuild, like a
Yeah,
real rebuild, not what
yeah,
people are looking at right now, which means we have to move out more assets and guys like
yeah.
like
So there could be
more
a
vet
lot of
players would
cap
have to go.
space. Could be a
What?
lot of cap. Could be a lot of cap
and
space. Yeah,
and theoretically, if you go through this year and you recognize you're not good, you start moving guys out. You still have the LTIR, even if you have issues with Coots, whatever. You know what I mean? Then you still try to shed salary, and then all of a sudden you're still not that good. You pick up a couple more assets the following year, and then
yeah.
you have your window where all of a sudden the cap is
Well,
opening up, and you can
that's
get
the
rid of
thing
those
too.
contracts.
I think the thing you got to look forward to as well is, let's say there is certain guys that are on longer term deals where it just doesn't click this year, and you're just kind of like, well, it's not going to be here if it's going to work anywhere hypothetically, and you end up moving on from those guys. Other teams project for the cap too, so they're going to see, well, you know what? I don't have a problem acquiring a $7 million player because
That's a
the
great point.
cap's going
Going to
up,
go up.
so we can afford that, and we're competitive now. So let's go for it, right? So
Yes.
the Flyers, that could give them, easier time getting rid of guys potentially. Not
You
to
know
say
what I
that's the route it's going to go, but you never know. All
you,
options are on deck.
you know what I thought about actually? This is my prediction. I was
Sure,
thinking
what's
about
up?
Ryan Ellis, and if you got any balls, I don't even know. I'm not gonna make fun of Chuck Fletcher. I'm just joking around. But what I would try to do. So Nashville is screwed if
Well,
Ryan
yeah,
Ellis, if
if
Ryan
he
Ellis
retires,
retires,
yeah, they get the
right?
recapture
So,
penalty.
right, they're screwed. We're not screwed, right?
Yeah,
And we have to take the LTIR, but we can convince him to retire early, potentially. That's what I would say to them. I say, look, I have to manage this every year. It's insured. I don't care. If he does
yeah,
retire, that's on you guys now, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna offer you is that you take him back. You LTIR him.
That's a smart
You
loophole if
control
you
his
think about it.
contract because if
Yeah.
he retires, you have to eat that no matter what. I'm out scot free.
Yeah.
So I'll take one of those second round picks, and you can have Ryan Ellis back, and that way he won't retire on you and eat up 6.5 or 6.25 of your cap space.
Yeah, it's fuck, man. I mean, that's a way to look at it too. We'll see. I think it all depends on Alice,
I was thinking
the
about it the
guy.
other day. I was like, that's what I was trying.
Well, it just depends. That's a smart move. If you can get, I mean,
Well,
I don't know if Chuck Fletcher has the wherewithal to do that, but
it doesn't matter what Ellis wants because if he doesn't retire, they LTIR him. If he does retire, they convince him not to
I'm just
LTIR him. You see what I'm saying?
I'm just
we won't convince him not to retire.
If he retires, I don't know if he gets paid. That's the only thing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but he could consider retiring and stop.
Yeah, he could. If
he's under our control, we want him to retire.
Oh, 100%.
We'll encourage him to. If he's on their control, they don't want him to retire. They will never encourage him to. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know if we're actually a second round pick, but they, in my opinion, they should be incentivized to take that contract under their control where they can LTIR it. It's definitely insured, and then they don't have to. And it's definitely insured because in thinking about it, they did not insure that contract. If they're screwing up with the Shea Weber thing, like that would be insane. But I would imagine like that is insured, so you don't have to pay for it. At least majority, you pay like 80% of it, and you'll be okay. And that way, you can convince him not to retire because if he doesn't
that'd be a
flyer, it screws you over.
That'd be a no control scenario.
He's not in your organization, so you can't even talk to him. You can't have your doctors look at him. You have no control of the situation. You're in the hands of the Flyers, who, if he does retire under the Flyers, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a best case scenario. If you could pull something like that off, that'd be super.
Well, that would make Chuck Fletcher a really good GM, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. I mean, that's the out of the box thinking we're hoping to see from him. You know what kind of pissed me off, to be honest, watching the preseason game, just to throw this out? Seeing Dylan Strome score 2 goals.
Oh, my God. Dude.
And looking pretty good, right? I was just kind of like to myself, you know what, the team needs centers. You know, you could have signed for free for like $3 million.
Dude, I said the exact same thing last night. I was like turning my roommate. I was like,
could have had him. Yeah.
I was like, we need centers more than anything else, more than Delorier.
Yeah,
more than
Tony
DeAngelo.
I like what he brought. Yeah, we need centers. I agree.
I like Delorier, and I find it. So I do want to add this news because we didn't say it, but Roussel and Theo Rochette, I don't know him well, but Roussel obviously didn't make the team. This is another example where I heard everybody say, "Oh, obviously Tortorella is going to love Roussel, and he's going to pick him over a younger guy." It's like, guys,
he got released pretty early.
Majority of PTOs never make it. They're literally invited as a favor, and a lot of times they are trying to just get a job anywhere. So, and just trying to show off. So, like, the likelihood of any of these guys getting signed are very slim. And again, it was one of those we'll see moments where I'm hearing everybody, joking around, but saying, obviously, we're going to, it's like, okay, no, we didn't.
So. No, yeah.
One thing we should talk about.
The negative, though.
I know. So, we didn't talk about Carter Hart's injury at all. Obviously, it's still week to week. From what I understand, it's precautionary. It should be. There's really no if he has any
he just got into a collision in training camp, so the team just wanted to be careful with him, which why wouldn't choose your top goalie? You have some guys that are inexperienced behind him, so why expose that? Let the guy heal up. 100%. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but 100%. But you can tell, again, I'm go back to my previous point, the Flyers are not focused on winning. So look at the way, and actually I don't think that was much of a problem. Look at the way that Ersan and Sandstrom have played in all of these games. They've looked really strong.
If they looked weak at any point, I've seen people nonstop complain about the backup goaltender.
Even Grosnick hasn't looked bad, to be honest.
That's my. I get that you guys don't know the names. Okay, I get it. Everybody complained about Martin Jones. Everybody complained about Martin Jones. Oh my God, why did the Flyers sign him? He's so bad. He's not going to do well here. He was excellent here as a backup goaltender. Stop freaking out before, literally, Sandstrom is of age to make a chance for the NHL. Now is the time.
I would argue Ersan could play in the NHL.
Ersan is legit. That's different, but he's young, and you can see what he's doing already. Sandstrom is of age now.
100%, yeah.
It's not, you're not bringing in a child. This is a guy who's been playing pro for a while.
Yeah.
It's time. Grosnick was the backup, and please stop pretending like there was no plan. Fedotov was the plan. You know he was.
It didn't fall. Yeah, it didn't work out due to circumstances that we all know about. But that's
Yes.
not the Flyers' fault. Like it's out of their control, really.
I can't. I even saw that there was a thing about Kaprizov where like what was done there, like it required highly specific people to be involved.
Yeah,
Like
he almost got trapped over there as well.
I don't think the Russian government was in favor of letting him leave. You know what I mean? Like he's a superstar.
Well,
That's
they
why
even put out, I think in Toronto, just on our news, like Toronto media in general, just put out like any hockey players that are from Canada that are in Russia, they advised like you should come back to Canada.
Yeah.
So like, there's obviously a reason why they said that. So there might be some things that they know that we do not. I do not know, but that's
100%.
an interesting tidbit. Just for the goalie stuff, like personally, both those guys, position wise, for people who don't know, like I played goalie in the past for hockey, so that might not mean anything because obviously on a lower level. But I like to think I know certain things about the position, just to see their positioning, just the way they're moving cross ice. Like Sandstrom, the first game had a couple like really good post to post push off saves. Where like if you're not in peak form, like those are gonna be hard to make. So like I have no issues with the backup goalies. Even Grosnick's look good in terms of the positioning as well, and it's only gonna get better under a full NHL defense. They'll look better behind
I think that's
a full squad. So
no, I think you're absolutely right, and I think if they can play well as a team, again, if your goal is not to win the Stanley Cup, why are you freaking out over your backup goaltenders?
Just see what they have, see if they can play the NHL.
Yeah, that is more important right now. I'm sorry. I don't agree with people. It is more important to find out what you have in Sandstrom than it is to bring a backup goaltender in here.
Yeah, because then you don't have to spend cap space, and then also if it doesn't work out, for next season, right?
But who are you to say that Sandstrom is not better than anybody? Who says that Sandstrom is not better than Jones?
He hasn't been given the opportunity, so you don't know.
Yeah,
so
how would you know?
I mean. Yeah,
how would you know?
Don't.
And if he is, then you look pretty stupid, right? Bringing in like a washed up 32-year-old guy who's not that good. Like everybody hates Grosnick. I mean, like I get it, but it's a Michael Leighton type. It is what it is.
It's just
that's the Fedotov replacement.
It's a safety net, right? It's a safety net just in case something goes wrong, or if there's injuries. Because Ursan, unfortunately, and Sandstrom have had some injury troubles in the past, so you got to hope that doesn't crop up. So a guy like Grosnick is just a safety. It's a safety hatchet, right? Just in case.
I think we need another goalie.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It was interesting to me that they let go Ustamenko, to be honest. But they also thought Fedotov was coming over, so it wasn't going to be the exact dynamic, right?
But it's so weird because Ustamenko like came in so strong, and then it just
looked good.
Yeah, and it just disappeared.
I think it's just you know what though. That's the thing with goalie. It's different than other positions. Like you can only have so many goalies. You know what I mean? Like realistically, you're going to have Hart and Fedotov. That was the plan. Then you're going to have Sandstrom and Ursan. That's the plan. And then you had Grosnick for the ECHL or something like that. You know what I mean? So like, where's Ustamenko gonna fucking play, right? So that's the thing. That's the thing with goalies. You can hoard your goalies, but like if a goalie isn't playing, he's not going to be developing his skills.
He might not have, and he might not have even wanted to be in that position.
Yeah, he might think to himself, okay, I can go somewhere else and be, the top AHL goalie for another team or something, and then maybe prove myself in another situation because he's still a younger guy, right? There's still time there. But just with the goalie stuff, like it's good to see that you have two guys, homegrown guys like Sandstrom or Son, showing that poise. And just showing, good positioning all around. That's where it starts with goaltending, right? The positioning. You got to be in the correct position to make those saves. You don't want to be, waiting for the puck to be there. You want to be there before the puck gets there. That's typically it, and you see that with those guys, which is a good sign. That's a real, symptom of Carter Hart's game as well. People were saying Ursan fundamentally looks very similar to Hart. It's because they're in the right position, and Hart's in the correct position.
And that's
why they look similar.
And to your point, that is not a strength of Sandstrom. I've been saying it for a while.
Yeah,
he relies too much on his athleticism, which is what has held him back.
Honestly, a very similar style is a Jonathan Quick. Think of a Jonathan Quick
to Sandstrom.
Yeah, because they're both smaller guys, and
I agree.
Athleticism. I don't know if Sandstrom will ever get to that level. I mean,
right.
Jonathan Quick, but that's the mold that you're looking for.
Yes, I do agree. I think that's a similar reason why I got like Bobrovsky. He's also like has up and downs because he's so talented, but fundamentally he's not
he's not the great positional goaltender. Yeah, he's not the great positional goaltender.
Yeah, it's not
he's
a guy
beating. he's not beating the pucks there. He's racing the puck there, and some
Yes.
nights you don't always win the race.
And
So
that's why Shesterkin and what's it called? Vasilevsky are on
because their fucking positioning is
everything. Yeah,
unreal, man.
everything is perfect. Like, the positioning and the athleticism are such a high
Yeah,
level. And I do believe Carter Hart can potentially hit that level. I mean, obviously the
I think
injuries
so
and
too.
he has the positioning. He has I don't know if he has the same level of athleticism as like a
I
Vasilevsky,
think it's
but
in there though. I
yeah,
think you can get it
but
out.
he's got a lot of it. So I've
Yeah,
not
he's
even
got a
come
lot of
close
the
to him.
right tools for sure. Um,
So we didn't.
and
So we have.
oh, sorry.
Oh no, no. Finish up your thing, and then I want to do our new segment because we forgot to talk about prior. And
Oh yeah, for sure. So I was
yeah.
just gonna say, last thing to touch on is Hart had a pretty cool
Oh
new
yeah,
mask.
yeah.
Yeah, so not as
Check out
much game
Caitlin
related.
Reese's. Sorry, check out our post. Caitlin Reese has awesome pictures, and Franny Drummond, who's actually a friend of mine, he does the helmets.
Oh,
So
that's
shout
awesome.
out to them. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
I thought the helmet was cool. Just new design dedicated to the Foo Fighters. Little tidbit
Yeah.
was Hart's dad was a huge Foo Fighters guy, so he had Taylor Hawkins all on the backside there. So that's awesome as a tribute. I mean, one of the best drummers, in rock and roll. So rest in peace to Taylor Hawkins there for sure.
Yeah, and if you guys are not aware, Franny Drummond does like every goalie uh that is coming through Philly. I've gone to hockey games with the guy. I've talked to him about stuff. Obviously he's friends with all of the Flyers goaltenders that like have ever come in here. Essentially,
Yeah,
like
he kills
90%
it
of
with the
them.
designs. So
Yeah, he's been doing all of them for years. So that's sick. So, real quick, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. So I missed the last episode. Apologies, but they're actually. I did go and check with gyms. They're currently not operational still. They're still closed down. They're still coming back, but it's still shout out to Gym Steaks
yeah.
when
Soon
they're open. I
we're
will
getting the
announce it
cheesesteak.
here, and you guys will go there. But don't give up on them. They will be back.
I'm flying a cheesesteak in as soon as they're
Yes.
open.
And also we also have a SeatGeek partnership now. And shout out to Rebecca for
Pretty
setting that up.
awesome.
Again, we had her on the podcast. Again, she's amazing. We're also setting up a meet and greet, and I'm like way late to answer her, and I'm like driving her nuts. But there's a meet and greet coming up. We'll sign that here. I think it'll be this month or next month. So we'll see. But the last segment, so this is something new that Vasili and I talked about. This is something we're going to do. I'm going to do a screen share for it too. But we're going to start reading comments that are on our videos from the previous episode. We want to involve you guys more. And I was thinking about like instead of a mailbag where we have to pull questions from you, like you guys are commenting anyway. A lot of you are similar people, and I know you guys see each other. I see
Yeah,
people
we want to
commenting.
involve you. Yeah,
Yeah, I want to
because
involve more. So like write more. Like we're reading them. I promise you. We don't always
all the
respond.
time. Yeah,
We're reading them. It's just Vasili and I are super busy.
I try to like every comment, but yeah, even
Yeah,
sometimes I'll post some replies and stuff. But like you were saying, we're pretty busy. But if you post a comment, like we'll read it out, and then also
yeah,
if there's an interesting point to talk about, we'll dive into it too because we all love to talk hockey at
yeah.
the end of the day. So that's why we're all engaging with this stuff, engaging with each other, right? So we appreciate you guys commenting and just giving us the love, and we're gonna do a little bit of a screen share here. Start
Yeah.
off.
So I'm just gonna show the comments, and I was kind of like weighing, do I show them or just read them off? But I'm like, let's show them off
More
because
fun to show them, yeah. More fun to
yeah.
show.
And again, they're public anyway. If you guys are upset about this, you guys can let me know, and I will hide stuff. But I think it's better to just go through the comments and just talk about it because we don't ever publicly acknowledge this stuff really, and we don't do a
Yeah.
live chat. So I thought this would be kind of cool. All right, so first one here from EJSKI. Obviously, we see you all the time. Or I'm sorry, EJW ski. And obviously I see a lot of you guys, so we'll see repeated ones, but that's fine. Torch is going to get this team to believe in themselves. Lawton for captain, third line center, PK 5-on-4, PK 5-on-3, power play 2, 5-on-4 defenseman, Lawton extra attacker. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Look, I'll say this. We talked about it. We do believe in Torch. I think be ready for a disappointment always. Don't assume it's going to work out, but look, we feel it too. And I do think Scott Lawton is a big part of this team. Without Couturier here, I don't know who's captain of the team.
He's got, yeah, I don't know if there will be one without Couturier here, but we'll see what it evolves into. I think for Lawton, I mean, he's going to be a big piece, like you were saying, expanded role with Couturier out for a little bit. And even with him in the lineup, I think he was going to have an expanded role this year. So I think big season, hopefully from him. I mean, the Flyers are definitely banking on that for sure.
Yeah. I find it really interesting that Ivan Provorov is still wearing the A. I want you guys
Oh,
all to remember that because I brought him up as a potential captain, and I know people didn't take me seriously, but I'm very
it's
serious.
definitely possible. Yeah,
Yes, I'm very serious. It's not a crazy idea to make your number one defenseman with the best work ethic on your team,
the
who's
captain. Yeah,
willing to argue with the media and yell at people to be a captain. Like, that's not a crazy idea. I don't think it's the most likely, but again, Hayes, Provorov,
anything's a possibility, really.
I do think that you're right, though. I think they're not in a rush to name a
I
captain.
think I think I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this year there isn't a captain, and
We'll
next
see.
year we
Again,
go with one.
I'll go with the point where I still believe it's up to the players. I
Yeah,
think that's I
exactly.
think that's what the coaches will look for.
That's in flux right now.
Yeah,
I would say.
and maybe Lawton's that guy. I will say he has the personality for it. You're not
Yeah,
wrong about that. He's definitely one of the leaders of this team. That's without a doubt. Flyer Bob, great show, guys. Thank you.
we appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Appreciate it, dude. Um, Jacob P. Oh, well, let's read Flyer Bob's other one. This is the year Hart has to step up this year. I mean, we were just talking about that. I mean,
Yeah.
he does, but he also has been like one of the best players on this team every year. He had one half
It's
a year
also
he struggled.
not. Yeah, it's also not on him. I would say mainly like as a goalie. I mean, it's just whatever's happening around you, you will be a symptom
Well,
of. There were so many games last year where he like held the team in it and they still lost 3-0. So it just points to how shit the team around him played. So I
how
think with some more structure with
well
Tortorella, it's gonna help him. You know,
how many teams relying on their goaltender have
have
won
success.
Stanley Cups?
None.
You can maybe make the case that it was Brodeur, but only because he's the best player on the team. Because the rest of the team is really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, really rely. What the closest was probably Buffalo with Hasek, but they didn't win.
they
So
win, right?
you
Yeah,
know,
because
so like it's
you
hard.
can ride a hot goalie far.
Carey
You
Price,
typically
yeah.
don't win with a goalie. You'll
It's not
run
on
out of
him.
gas. Yeah,
It's not all on the goalie. I mean, you got to have a good goalie. You got to have a goalie that can keep you in games, which I think Hart can
right.
do that for them.
And look, we saw with Colorado this last year, right? Like, they didn't have the best goalie in the league. They replaced him after he won a Stanley Cup,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the world, and they still
Yeah.
won. So it's
So
like
it goes both ways. There's two
it
extremes where like you can have a really good goalie and be really great. You don't have to have the
and
best goalie. You can still be really great.
100%. And I think a lot of it is kind of what we were going back before. It's like you're compensating for your strengths and your weaknesses. If you're really strong at D, you have a great defensive team and just a great team in general, you can have an average goalie. You can have a good goalie and
Yeah.
be a great team. If you don't have a great D, or you have some holes that you're missing, you're going to need a better goalie, right? It's like this is kind of how it works. It's like a trade-off. And that's why they say build like back out, because I don't think they're talking about goaltender. I actually don't agree with people. It's talking about defense.
Yeah, they're
Because
talking about
your
the
defense
defense
is
first.
really good. You can have a good goalie. He doesn't have to be the best goalie in the league.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be Dominic Hasek.
He does have to be a good goalie. He has to be an actual starter. He's got to be
Mhm.
maybe a top 15 goalie, maybe even
Yeah.
top 20 goalie.
Yeah.
It can't be a backup, right?
No,
But
no, exactly.
it just has to be a good goalie. It doesn't have to be great. Next comment, Jacob P. Would love it if Provy pulled back on the offensive side and turned into Jacob Slavin type player. Throw a C on him too. Hey, I like that. We just talking about C. So I don't think that Jacob Slavin is capable of doing what Ivan Provorov is capable of doing offensively. Defensively, Jacob Slavin has always been at a high level. He was never going to be a 50-point player in the league.
I think there's more of a two-way.
Provorov with
Provorov. I think there's more of a two-way with Provorov, right? Like
natural.
I don't know if he's ever going to be. I don't know if he's ever going to be the defensive shutdown guy like a Slavin. I don't know, but I don't
know if Slavin is a Slavin. I'll be honest with you. Is it a reflection of his team?
Slavin's really, really good. Like he's a really good shutdown D. I can attest that. I've watched a lot of Carolina, watched him play. But I'll say like I don't know if Provorov's ever going to be like just a shutdown guy like that. You know what I mean? Like I think
like
he's
just pure shutdown.
Yeah. Like he's always gonna have the offensive, offensive side to his game. So
maybe in the latter half of his career, to your point,
it's possible.
32 and up, yeah,
it's possible, right? That's when you see guys like that slow down. So I think like you're always gonna see that offensive side, And then, I mean, that's a bonus on top of the good defensive play as well. But I also don't think that like he's always going to be like, okay, it's me who has to stay back. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like he's never going to be like that slave. Him and D'Angelo, that's where it's going to have to be kind of the work on things because they both like to have the puck. They both like to rush it up. So they're going to have to figure that out. That dynamic of like when am I going? When are you going? Pick our spots. So that'll be interesting. I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, let's move on to the next one here. EJW all over this. I love Coots, but at this point, would forced retirement help future team cap? Young guys and draft choices. Honestly, I wouldn't let Coots play this season. Again, you heard my attitude. We'll see. I mean, like
Yeah.
these are all very definitive statements in a situation where, and
Yeah.
frankly, we're all in the same boat. We're on the outside. We have no idea. If I'm
Yeah.
there and I see, oh, really, it is. It's like this is a really bad situation. Maybe you're right, but it's a little bit presumptuous. And again, I think a lot of it is trauma, and it's not your fault. It's that we've been hurt so often by this team. You can't help but assume the worst. But
Yeah.
you gotta, I think you gotta be a little more poised and just give it a little bit of time. Um, you don't want to ever force anybody to do anything, and you don't know if Coots is going to retire. Like,
I would agree. I think it's a little premature to say retire, but I mean, you just have to hope that he can get back. Well,
yeah,
it's like we are saying, wait and see situation with him.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, I think it's as simple as that. And then I guess the additional comments here: back injury can't be fixed. They always come back. I got pains all the time, and I don't. If I don't stretch it out, can get out of me. I totally believe that. Mine is technically below lower back, but it's off and I can't move. I think captain should be between Lawton, Provy, or Cam. They all stay healthy often. That's a good point. Um, I'll say, look, I get it. That back injuries are a problem. I think it's easy to conflate what is going on with you with other people. I've heard that, and I get that you have
Yeah.
the experience with it. I am not going to say that that is not valid. I can't even determine that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying there's no point to project because we still
Yeah.
don't know. And
Well,
at the
like we
end
were
of the
saying earlier, it's all fluid with the back, right? So we'll see.
day,
Could you go positively? Could you
yeah,
go negatively? Who knows, right?
yeah, there's no world where I'm going to say that it's not a risk,
Yeah,
but
definitely is.
we
Definitely
just
is.
don't know, and I don't think it helps us to really assume the worst. We can't operate that way because we
Yeah.
don't know. Um, do I feel comfortable with Chuck Fletcher at the helm of all this? Not necessarily.
No,
So
the way he's
to
dealt
your
with injury
point,
history in the
yeah,
past,
it's like,
it's hard to be like, well, he's the guy we want at the helm, but we'll
yeah.
see how it all kind of unfolds.
Let's go to Flyer Bob's next comment here. JVR first one to be benched. I don't believe that at all. I think JVR is going to
Yeah.
have a great year, actually.
I think so too. And you got to think it's a contract year for him. So what do players want? They want to get paid at the end of the day. So that's in the back of his head.
Yes.
Trust me.
I don't think JVR is ever that bad. I think he was very disappointing last year.
Yeah. But
But if
also
you
the year
look,
before he had his like best start ever. So it's
that's what I was
hard.
saying. It's like
He's streaky. He's streaky.
again, you have to leave it open to the fact that the guy is not a nothing nobody. Okay, so like
No. Yeah.
they respect him. JVR is very respected around the NHL. He is a representative for the NHLPA. This is not a guy that the team is going, hey, JVR, you just don't got anymore. Get the hell out of here. Like, I get that it's easy to stand outside as a fan and behave that way. There is not that conversation is not happening internally.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful. These are adults. They work their asses off. They've been here for years. A top 2 pick. There's the guy who's drafted by the teams. The guy who's literally led the team in scoring last year. Like, I get that he's frustrated. I get that he's overpaid. But like, come on, they gave him the contract. What are they going to be mean
Yeah.
to him because they gave him the contract? Like, yeah. So I don't agree. It's possible, but I think young guys will be benched first under
Yeah.
Torts. Like, unfortunately, I think it'll bother people, but I think we'll see that. Do you agree? I mean, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd agree. Yeah.
Okay. Next one we got, I want York as a full-time Flyer. Zamula makes this team. I think we're at a numbers game. I think Zamula is a lot closer than we
He's
realized.
first call up. Zamula's the first call up if there's an injury.
Yeah, I think he
Maybe.
looks. I think putting on the weight is a huge advantage.
Yeah. He looks good too.
Just listening to Lappy talk about him on, I think it was Martinez's podcast, his interview. I think they still want a little bit more out of him before they call him up there. And I think it's just a sheer numbers game. I don't think Kevin Connaughton's on this team. I think Nick Seeler's not starting. I think
No.
York is. I've heard a lot of people like joke around about that. Kevin Connaughton will not be making this team. I saw him play already.
No.
He's here to play in the AHL. And I think Nick Sealer is here to be that extra. But I think you got to be a little crazy to think that the Flyers are not going to be pulling in some of these young guys in their early to mid 20s. They're going to be pulled in during the year. I mean, it would be crazy not to play Zamula this year. Like, what would be the risk of not playing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and your D is actually deep enough, and at least from a name standpoint, they might be underperforming. But you look at the name of the top six: Provorov, D'Angelo, Sanheim, Ristolainen, and York, Braun. It's really not bad.
No, it isn't. They have a solid defense if they all play their potential.
Yeah, you go back 2 more years, you think that it's actually going to be pretty damn good. So next one we got here, and York, I think will be a full-time Flyer by the beginning.
Oh yeah, he's gonna make.
Who would make it over him?
I don't know. I can't see anybody who I would pick.
Not a single name I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's ready. He just needs to show like a lot of guys.
He was ready last year.
Yeah, he needs to show. I mean, LaPerriere, at some of the coaches saying they just want to see him make, instead of look for like the home run all the time, they just want to see some more simple routine plays out of him when it calls for that, which I do agree as a young defenseman. I mean, you want to make your mark, but not every play is going to be the stretch, the pass, or the breakout pass.
Yeah. They
gotta pick your spots.
They're right about that because they got to limit the amount of mistakes he makes. But I do worry about some of that stuff, because like I agree with LaPerriere. I understand why. Look, and the guy's smart.
You don't want to stop a guy from being him. Yeah,
that's all. Like I don't want my players second. Like we've seen so many guys who came in with talent and then that talent regress. And part of me is concerned that it's like, are you guys like, hey, okay, for instance, Jake Voracek, turnover machine. He was given a lot of confidence with that puck and told to go because that's his job. That was his job, is to drive the puck into the zone. And he turned it over at the same rate as Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
So it's like this.
Well, I just think
turnover.
I just think with York, I just think with York, it's more the sense that like he hasn't really played a full season in the NHL yet. So they just want to make sure he can do those things on an everyday basis and be consistent, and they just want that consistency from him. I think that's 100%. What it is. So hopefully we get that. I think we're going to be quite surprised with like how he performs this season. I think there's going to be a lot of good moments from him, and then you hope some of that power play time as well. You see him develop that offensive game too.
Yeah. And it would be awesome to honestly see Zamula make this team. I don't think it's going to happen. I do think he is going to be in the NHL. I think it's literally on purpose. You just look at the names that are playing right now. I don't think they're rushing to get Zamula in it, but
I think it's first call up type thing. Right?
To your point, like you have an injury. Sealer's probably sitting up top for most of the season. He's going to get some games for sure. He'll definitely play 20 games this year in the NHL, right? But you look at the case where like one of your top 4 guys are injured and, maybe more, right? But if you're missing a certain type of player,
then you go to Zamula.
Yeah, Igor Zamula is a lot more intriguing than Sealer because Sealer's a one-dimensional player. He's a defensive defenseman. You know what I mean? Zamula is a two-way guy. So, like, that cannot be ignored. Same thing with Ronnie Attard. Like, role matters. If Justin Braun is injured, it's very different than Sanheim. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
Very different type of call-up. The Flyers do have a luxury where if Sanheim gets injured, York elevates, right? And then you can pull up Zamula, right? So you could do Sealer, but is Sealer and Braun a great pairing?
No. That's why I'd say, like, unless they're on the road and they're forced to put him in, like, that's when you're going to see a Sealer draw in versus, like, if you have the opportunity to call a guy up, you're going to probably do that with the guys you have waiting, right?
Yeah, and look, Kevin Connaughton, in my opinion, outplayed Sealer last year.
Yeah, I'd probably rather have him than Sealer, to be real.
But I can't see both of them being on the team to start the year.
Yeah, and they like Sealer more for the intangibles that he brings. So
and they're both waivable to start the year. And quite frankly, the Phantoms need leaders.
Yeah, so Connaughton's not a bad guy to be on the Phantoms.
The Phantoms cannot be bad again this year.
No, you need to start fostering a growth of your development team.
It's not acceptable anymore for the Phantoms to be a bad team. It doesn't make any sense. We don't even have to worry about a salary cap there. Go out and buy good players if you need to. Like, I don't know what to say. This team can no longer be at the bottom of the league. It is bad for development. And people can give Hextall the crap that they want. The Phantoms were on their way up when he was running the team.
Yeah, they were good under him, for sure.
Yeah, and they've gotten worse since then, and that's not good. They were never good enough, but they've gotten worse, and that's not good. They got to fix the Phantoms. All right, let's go to the last one here by John White. And again, guys, keep writing, and we'll go through. We'll do this every episode now. We'll go through it at the end. So, yeah, be as specific as you want. Try not to be inappropriate. I'll probably have to screen these at some point, but I don't really care at the same time. But it's just try not to make us regret it. I don't know. That's the only way I can say it. All right. So too many injuries and a lack of talent will lead to a bad season. Expect poor attendance. I do. Change of GM and coaches. Oh, coaches. Atkinson gets the C. Lawton and Sanheim are the A's. My predicted lines: Hayes between JVR and TK. Long between Atkinson, Noah Cates. Frost between Tippett, Tyson Forrester. Tanner Lazinski between Delorier and McEwen. Dark horses for extra spots: Radcliffe. I think that means Liskill. As Demon, Provy, D'Angelo, Risto, Sanheim, Braun, York. Extra Linus Hogeberg. Sorry, Connaughton is the odd man out. Oh, well, we agree on that. You missed Nick Sealer there too. Look, I agree with points of this. I think, again, we'll see.
There are lines are possible for sure. I might have some different guys like an Allison in there.
There's also no Farabee listed.
Yeah, no Farabee too.
I assume it's because of the injury.
Start off. Yeah. In terms of the poor attendance, I expect that. Change of the GM, depending on how bad they are, it's possible.
Yeah.
Tortorella is here for his whole contract.
Yeah, I think the coaches thing is why would they change the coach? They just hired a whole new staff. I think the one thing that you could see them change, and I would not expect. I'm not like expecting Chuck Fletcher to get fired. I'm expecting him to get promoted to president. Like that's possible too. That's what they've done for most GMs.
Yeah, we'll just see. I mean, it's in the sense like if they're fucking bad, like top, like bottom 3 in the league bad, like real bad. They might just be like time to clean everybody out. So,
but see. They don't do. But I agree with that. That really doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
it really like Hextall getting fired the way he did. That's not normal.
Well, not in the middle of the season. Yeah.
No, not at all. And then to be badmouthed on the way out. This guy was a legend here. Think about Hextall's reputation prior to being GM. The man could do no wrong. So this was Hextall's problem, in my opinion. It was not his drafting. It didn't have to do with Nolan Patrick. It didn't have to do with any of that. You can see GMs fuck up everywhere and keep their jobs. It is not these reasons. He did not communicate with Comcast at all. Do you guys like their business department? Okay. That's who he was dealing with, and he was not nice to them, was he?
No.
Right. So that's why he lost his job.
Which is a fair way to look at it. That and didn't want to fire Dave Haxtell. So
yeah.
Which makes sense.
Most coaches, he didn't want to do anything they told him to do.
No, yeah. Most GMs will fall on the coach, right? They'll take him out, get another coach in.
I want to point out how much I respect Hextall for that. And people might not agree. I look at this team today. I'm making it very clear to people. Every single thing that we have done to behave like a fan has destroyed this team. Where do you guys think those decisions came from? Not from Ron Hextall. And you can say he destroyed the team. He did not. He stagnated us to build assets. You could not like it. Maybe it's not the most effective way. Maybe he failed at some of it. But it wasn't a disastrous plan. It wasn't.
But there was a plan in place, at least.
Yeah. So. Most GMs are average. Most GMs are not winning a Stanley Cup. Most GMs are going to make just as many mistakes as they do successes. That's why if you find a good one, you keep them. And that's why most GMs don't keep their jobs beyond 5 years? Something like that. I know it's like,
especially in sports too, results-based business.
Well, the way you keep your job at that level is relationships. So that is clearly what Chuck Fletcher is doing above Hextall, because Hextall had better results than Fletcher. Fletcher's results have been garbage. Outside of that that 1 year, absolute garbage. So
and then you could argue at this point that's a outlier because there's been more data showing that they've been trash. So.
and again, he took over Hextall's team. This does not mean Hextall is infallible. Doesn't mean he's a great coach. Doesn't mean he did everything right. All I'm saying is these guys are average.
Yeah.
hopefully we can find ourselves the Iserman one day. You know,
You gotta hope Briere is that type of player, GM who
oh, like
understands it a bit more. But
I mean, looks to me like all the best GMs in the league were star
former
players,
players, yeah, pretty
not
much.
just former
So
players, former star players.
yeah, so the trend's there, right? They obviously understand the game at a high level
Jason
in a lot of
Blake
aspects.
in LA
Yeah, or Rob Blake, Rob Blake.
or Rob Blake. Sorry, Jason Blake. Oh my God, I haven't heard that name in so long. How about
He was okay too.
You think Dubas survives?
They didn't renew his contract. Caveat. So like if yeah, this is the
He
last
gets
year.
hired the very next day. I want to make it very
Yeah,
clear.
yeah, yeah. This is the last year of his contract for the Leafs. I mean, my assumption would be if they don't win a playoff round, he's fired. They
Yeah,
have
I
to
think
win.
so too.
It shows some results. So
It's a shame because he's a really good GM. He's really
fuck. I
smart.
mean, if he gets fired and you're the Flyers, if you have a combo of like him and Briere in some capacity, give me that. Yeah.
Hire him in a heartbeat, dude. I'm hired, dude. I literally cannot see a situation where an NHL team does not jump to hire
Oh,
Kyle
they
Dubas.
will. They will. Yeah.
Yes, he is incredibly impressive. He is my age.
Yeah.
He is killing it as a
great.
GM.
Oh yeah. I mean,
He's not an average GM.
in,
He's a good GM, and he's
went
a
to school right in Niagara
comparison
Falls, guys. Right in
Oh,
Niagara
yeah.
Falls, Ontario.
Well, he
Yeah.
started. Didn't he start off for Sault Ste. Marie
Yep.
Greyhounds? He was their
Yep.
GM.
He was the GM. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to Brock University. My buddy went there, so we always make the joke. They were in the same program. He was in a business program, same business program my buddy was in. So we always make the joke. When are you going to be the GM of the Leafs, man? You're coming through the same the same business program. Oh, anyway.
Dude, I would kill. I would kill to have his opportunity. I would kill to be fired by the Leafs. Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing, dude. Are you kidding me? I would do any GM for any league, for any team in the NHL. If I knew I was getting fired at the end of the year, I'd do it with a smile on my face.
Like, sure, why
Are
not?
you guys nuts?
Basically the New York Yankees of hockey. So.
Oh my God, dude. I would GM the Arizona Coyotes with a smile on my face. And that place is a disaster.
Yeah, why not?
I would, dude, I'll be honest with you. I'd be the same way towards his. I'd be so obsessed with the idea, and I'm going to stop the screen share. I'd be so obsessed with the idea of fixing the team.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be the whole fun.
I'm sure some of these guys are into it like that, right? Like that's obviously there's a passion for it. So.
Yeah. Well, do you play NHL? We never talked about this. Do you play
NHL
series? So like that is by far my favorite thing to do is to start a team.
Oh, it's fun.
Once we have it and like it's already going, and I have all these great players, I'm like, all right, I did it. Bored.
Yeah, it gets boring, right?
Because it's just a video game at that point. The cup doesn't matter. But the process of attaining the players.
Oh, this team is shit. Yeah, it is fun.
Oh my God, I love to take the worst team in the league and
yeah, we'll have to do that. Go over the NHL 23 player ratings one of these days.
Yeah.
Sometimes they aren't as very accurate, but that's the fun part, right?
I've been playing NHL since 1996.
I've been playing since like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, I played every single NHL since 96. So they started in 94, I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah,
maybe earlier, but I think they started in 94. The EA series, but yeah, the new one comes out October 14th.
I think it's crazy. That's like coincides right with the start of the league. So
I'm very happy they did that. Actually, I think
doing some smart marketing there for once.
I mean, like I'm a product guy. I mean, the fact that they would release it a month before the season and then I had to deal with bullshit rosters. I don't really want to play it then anyway.
Yeah, you want to play with the updated rosters that are like the league starting out.
That's the whole point. I think to begin with, I think it was a mistake to release the game before the season starts. I understand why they did it, but I don't agree with that. I think this is a better way to go about it.
Yeah.
Though I will say, expect to be very disappointed by this game this year. I
it's not supposed to be that great.
I expect that it will get more backlash than any NHL has gotten in the past.
Yeah, I'm hoping, man. I hope 2K gets back into the hockey game. I don't know if they will, but
I don't think they will.
They just gone to golf, so like if you're getting into golf,
well, they didn't have competition because EA left that. EA's not leaving NHL.
That's true,
but they, without going to look, I'm a senior product manager. Like product is what I do. It's what I know. I know it very well. And from a product man, and I know their process. I can guess their process as an NHL team. It's not, or as a NHL franchise. I'm not in the dark here. I can probably guess most of the shit that they do. They definitely screwed up this year. Sorry, without a doubt. I watched what they did, what they prioritized as features. You cannot sell these features. You cannot put them on a box. They are not a selling point.
Yeah.
What you did with the cover is not a selling point. None of it will make you money. So you guys are in trouble. I'm being flat out. Whatever decisions that were made over the past 9 months to prioritize the features that you guys did, you're in trouble. Like you did not. Whoever was leading that, you have made bad choices. I can tell you that right now. You have definitely pissed off your audience, who is already upset. They're already hanging on, and you've pissed them off again. Not a great idea. But they'll be fine. I mean, the game's not going to disappear. I'm still going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it early this year.
I'll still play it. Yeah, I'm going to just wait a little bit too. Probably
look, I'm always going to buy the game because I need the resource of the roster manager. I don't want to use cap friendly all day. I want the NHL. Like, I want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, no, that team needs to be pushed severely. And I'm somebody who usually is very understanding with this stuff because I do this for a living. I'm in software development on the product side. Like I've been an engineer. I've been QA. I've done almost everything. I'm very aware of what these people go through. So I have a lot of empathy for that. But when I see decisions that are made in clear violation,
it's like, why is this what we're going for?
Of what you should be focused on, I question who is making the decisions and how we got to this point. I will still absolutely give it the benefit of the doubt, but from what I've seen so far, you guys made an oopsie.
Yeah.
It is what it is. They're still going to sell the game, and there'll still be another one the next year, but their staff will pay for it internally. We won't find out about it, but
hopefully it gets better.
Sales. I mean, I think it'll be reflected in the sales number, which if they don't increase and they stagnate, they lose. If they go down, they definitely lose. And I think if people are upset and they want to prove a point to you, they'll buy your game used.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. Yeah. Good luck, EA. Need it. You guys have made a lot of bad decisions over the years, so it is what it is. Cool. Anything, Vasili, you want to tell people what you're working on?
You guys will be listening to this on a Friday. We'll have an article paired out with the podcast, so check that out. Kind of going to go into just like thoughts on training camp so far, things like that. So appreciate you guys giving it a read, and then just articles coming up throughout the season. I'm going to try to be doing hopefully an article a week, and then hopefully with podcasts sometimes even two. So lots of content coming.
Yeah. And we hope that it's awesome. And we hope that you guys like the comment thing. We're gonna do more of that. Gonna try to end every episode with reading your comments from the previous episode. So if you guys want us to read stuff out, put it in the comments. We'll read it.
Or talk about certain things.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like you see, we're gonna add time here at the end to talk about this stuff. And again, we want to incorporate you guys more. So again, if you want to DM us and stuff and send us stuff, we can try to bring that stuff on the podcast as well. But definitely more and more of that. And I think we owe it to you guys. And thank you for listening 100%. To us. Like, fucking awesome that we have people listen. And, I hope you guys are enjoying this. We obviously enjoy it. We're not making money off of it. I promise you that. Yeah. Not enough for the amount of time that we're spending on it. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy because we love it. I mean, obviously.
Oh, of course. Talk hockey all the time.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you guys saw like the guys. I'm sitting across from Jim Jackson. I got to interview. I'm you guys. I'm a normal dude, right? Like
very much. You got to interview Owen Tippett. It's awesome for us for sure.
It's fucking awesome.
And we couldn't do it without the support from everybody giving
it
watches and listening and all that.
Absolutely, and we would not be driving. And we've seen our numbers are better when we don't have guests. Like that blows my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Vasili brought it up to me first. He's like, dude, we're like we don't have guests and you guys are listening. Like that's respect. Like we love you guys. Like seriously, it's freaking amazing. And that's why I want to incorporate you guys more because this is kind of, we're a vessel for you in a lot of ways. If you're listening to us regularly, it's because, or at least the values and what we're talking about aligns with you guys.
Connects,
right?
Exactly.
I don't
we want to incorporate you guys as much as we can, we'd say.
Yeah. I also don't think we're the largest group of Flyers fans. I think, there's more on the polars of either being super positive or really upset. And I think a lot of us kind of looking for that middle ground. So, Hope they're doing a good job there. All right. Vasili, you the man. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, rate, do the whole thing again. Continue to comment. We'll keep reading them. Yeah. And thank you to Jamie, and just follow Jamie. He's so fucking awesome.
Killing it always.
Yeah. And you can see like the updates are all there. Like the guy is just killing it. Thank you to Caitlin for taking those pictures and getting us that. And Rebecca is killing it. And you'll find out more about what she's doing. And Sam just had an interview with Tanner Lazinski.
That was awesome.
So fucking awesome. And she's been working her butt off, and she's always doing her own thing, and she's obsessed, and
whole team's going off.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And yeah, I'm not gonna let a shitty winning season bring that down. It's still enough to be excited about. So again, thank you very much. We love you. Please keep listening. Please share. You the man, Vasili. And remember, always stay